Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. There we go. Alright, we're live, and as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be going over key controls as well in C++ using actually in SDL3 using C++. That said, last stream I did go over key controls as well, but I didn't master it because I did have to like end the stream. That said, let's go to my gameplay screen. Okay, and let's say something like, let's say I'm live. And guys, this is the chat from last stream because like I didn't have time to like change the chat. Okay, that said, listen up people. Welcome back, Soldier of Code. The battle is lit. The viewers are watching, and your fingers better be ready to type like your life depends on it. Every line of code you write today is a strike against ignorance failure, huh? That's just a training in disguise. Now tell me, what are we conquering in today's stream? Are we moving to objects again, adding collisions, or building something even crazier? Guys, I didn't say since what I was gonna do. What up, guys? Let's say something like, let's say, planning to work on key controls this stream as well. That said, can you give me a clear instructional based question mark? Okay, I think I do know the basics a bit, but I did like forget a few things because like I'm not going with the regular key controls. I'm going with like a few boolean ones, so I could move diagonally as well. If that made any sense, guys. So let me actually close my OBS from here real quick. Okay, brother. What do you do here? Honestly, hiding target. I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Today I'm working on key controls in C++. Okay, okay, that's it. Alright, people, time to test your control over chaos. Here's your challenge. Create an SDL program where a rectangle appears at the screen, okay, at the center of the screen. So we're going to be creating a rectangle this time. When you press WASRD, the rectangle moves up, left, down, and right, respectively. When you press space, the rectangle resets back to the center of the window. That is going to be something new. That's it. When you press escape, the program closes safely. Okay, guys, this actually does. This is kind of fun. Okay, make sure you use SDL_poll event to handle the input and clear and redraw the screen each frame. Okay, let's actually try that. Although this is the code from last stream because I didn't have time like to work off stream. That said, so CY and CY's it decreases to go down, it increases to go up, then A down, A decreases, and D increases. Okay. And then I did like go with a few boolean variables here, guys. I'm just reviewing a bit before I do actually like start writing this. That said, in my while loop I did that. Then I went ahead and added a few cases. Okay, I think I see. So let's go with something like control layer. Let's delete everything. And now, firstly, let's start off by including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. And then let me go ahead and include SDL3 as well because I am going to be using SDL3. So I'll go with the pair of ankle braces. Let's go ahead and include SDL3/SDL.h. I'm assuming SDL.h is like the header files for SDL. Okay, that said, now let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. And then my main function is going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. And the second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be a point to an array called something like argv. I honestly haven't like used these parameters like till now. Like I've been like learning SDL3 for I think about 8 days or something now. That's it. Now let's go ahead and add a if statement to initialize my SDL and check if it was not initialized properly. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if not SDL underscore init, and I'll add a pair of parentheses SDL underscore init underscore video. Basically this returns 0 if SDL was initialized properly. I added a not here to check if it did not return 0. Okay, that said, if my SDL was not initialized properly, I'll go ahead and go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to give me a SDL underscore init error. Here we go. Okay, alright, and then I'll go in a new line, add another insertion operator, and go ahead and use the standard get error function. Actually, a SDL underscore get error function. This gets me the error. And then let's go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. What up, guys? That should be a standard end line. Okay, lastly, let's go ahead and return one saying something went wrong here. Okay, now that I've initialized SDL and checked if it was not initialized properly, let's honestly create our window and render. So I'll go with So I'll go with something like create window and render. I honestly do like title casing stuff for some reason. That said, for creating my window and render, first I'll need to create two local variables of a structure. Guys, that actually sounded kind of complicated. But I'll go with something like SDL underscore window. This is a structure, and I added an asterisk here, now a pointer. So my window local variable, there we go, my window local variable is a pointer to my SDL underscore window as a structure. SDL underscore window does have all the properties or the attributes that my window does need. I am going to be setting this to something like null PDR for the time being, ending with a semicolon. Then let's go with something like SDL underscore renderer. I'm going to do the exact same thing for renderer as well. This is going to be a renderer's local variable, which is a pointer to my renderer's structure. And I'll go with a null PDR for a placeholder. Okay, perfect. Now that I've created my two variables, let's use a function that actually does create my window and renderer. I could go with something like SDL underscore create window and a renderer function. There we go. Then I'll add a pair of parentheses. Now, my SDL underscore create window and renderer function does require, I think, about 5 parameters. The first parameter is going to be a caption. My caption could be something like SDL3 window created exclamation. Okay, and then I'll add a comma here. Now I'll need a width for my window and a height for my window. And I don't want to honestly add manually hardcode numbers here like 800 and 600. That's why once I'm done adding my if statement here, I'll add a comment that says something like game variables. There we go. Okay, I'm going to be adding my width variable and my height variable here. So I could go with something like a constant integer of width. This is going to be my window's is width. That is going to be 800 pixels. And then let's go with something like a constant integer of height. That is going to be my window's height, which is going to be 600 pixels ending with a semicolon. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and add my width variable, which is 800, and height variable, which is 600. Yeah, I think I spelled width wrong. There we go. Alright, perfect. Next up, I'm going to be needing a flag. So I'll add a comma here, go in a new line. Now, basically, a flag is like what special superpowers do I want my window to have. If I don't want anything, I could go with something like 0. But I do want my window to be like resizable. So I could go ahead and use the SDL underscore window underscore resizable function. I don't know. Okay, don't your mouth even hurt, man. Guys, I've been like way through that phase. Like I've been like streaming for I think about 4ish months every single day. So I feel like my throat and my vocal cords are kind of used to it. Okay, drinking game, take a shot every time he says like. Honestly, guys. Okay, that's how. Go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. Okay, then I'll add a comma here. Now the fourth, actually, is it like that's 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay, so these are 4. Now the fifth and the sixth parameter is going to be the memory address of my window local variable and my renderer local variable. I could do that by using the address of operator or like an ampersand of my window and an ampersand of my renderer. Okay, perfect. That's honestly pretty much it for like the parameters. Let's go ahead and end my create window and renderer function with a semicolon. Now that I've created my window and renderer, I will be adding an if statement to check if they were not created properly. To do that, I could go with something like if not window, if my window was not created properly, or if my renderer was not created properly, I'm gonna do something. I've counted like 34 likes. Oh, I see. Okay, first shot taken. Guys, is it like a drinking game? Second two? Huh? Okay, that said, let's go with something like a standard. Let's go with a standard C error with an insertion operator. Okay, this is going to be a long one. So I'm going to be, adding my SDL underscore, let's go with underscore create window and renderer, error. So this is going to be a create window and renderer error. So then I'll go in a new line, add another insertion operator. And let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore, let's say something like get error. There we go, with a pair of parentheses. Then I'll go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. And now, if my window or my renderer was not created properly, firstly, I do want to exit my SDL. So I could go with something like SDL underscore quit. Third drink. Man, slow it down, guys. I feel like I didn't understand the game. Okay, drinking game. Take a shot every time he says like. Guys, did I even say like those many times? Okay, that said, I'll go with a pair of parentheses here, and then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Lastly, let's return 1 saying something went wrong here. Okay, perfect. Next up, after I'm done creating my window and my renderer, since I am going to be like working with like adding key controls for my rectangle, I'm going to be adding a comment here that says something like rectangle properties. There we go. Okay, now for my rectangle properties, firstly, let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore frex structure. This is going to be having a local variable for my structure, if that made any sense, guys. And then let's go ahead and add a few attributes for it. So I'll go with something like rect.x-axis equals to, I don't know, maybe 100, ending with a semicolon, and then rect.y-axis is going to be equal to 200, ending with a semicolon. Now we'll go with rect.width, which is going to be, I don't know, maybe 50, ending with a semicolon, and then let's go with something like rect.height, which is going to be equal to 50 as well, ending with a semicolon. Like, guys, did I say those many likes? Okay, that's it. After I'm done creating my rectangles properties, honestly, since I am going to be like moving my rectangle around the screen, I might have to create few velocity variables as well. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll go with something like a floating point for x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to, let's say something like 8.0f, so it's 8 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. Then I'll go with something like a floating point y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to 8.0f as well. So that's 8 pixels per frame as well. Okay, perfect. Now, after I'm done creating my rectangle properties, let's go ahead and add another comment for my main loop this time. So I'm going to go with something like main loop. Guys, I don't even think like I said like. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and create a boolean variable now. So I'll go ahead and create something like a boolean of is running variable, which is initially going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. Okay, then let's go ahead and create an event variable because I do need a variable to check my current event. That's it. I'll go with something like SDL underscore events. Okay, this is going to be a structure to an event variable ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with a while loop. So I'll go with something like while, let's say something like while is running. Guys, let's not start a like chain. Okay, that's it. I'll go with while is running. While my program is running, I'm going to do something. I'm going to add a comment that says something like a event loop. So I'll go with something like a comment that says event loop. Guys, let's not spam. Okay, let's actually not spam, guys. Okay, that's it. I'm going to add a nested while loop. So I'll go with something like while in parentheses as well. What up, guys? Let me time out for a minute for spamming. There we go. Guys, I do actually see the message the first time because like I don't prefer like what you would call it spamming a lot because like it does flood the entire chat. Okay, that's it. After I'll go with something like while SDL underscore poll event. Basically, SDL underscore poll event is like a function that checks for all the events that I'm looking for, and if an event is found, it does execute the event. This does require a parameter of the memory address of, let's say, something like my event variable. And then I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my while loop, I'm first gonna look for a, let's say something like a event loop. So I'll go with something like, actually a event type. So I'll go with something like, if my event.type equals to, let's go with something like, SDL underscore event underscore quit. So if my event.type is quit, if my user did quit the window, I'm gonna do something. I'll go with the row of curly braces, and then honestly, let's go ahead and set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. And there are like more event loops. I won't be adding them just yet. Before that, I will add a few boolean variables, like a few boolean values. So let's go with something like boolean, because I do want to see what are like buttons my user clicks. I'm going to like set that to true if it's clicked, and if it's not clicked, it is going to be set to false. That said, let's go with something like, I don't know, maybe W down. Okay, so while my W button is clicked down, this is going to be set to false. I'll add a comma here, let's say for something like S down, while my S button is being pushed down as well. I'm going to set that equal to false. And then let's add a comma here, maybe go in a new line. I'll go with something like A down. While my user is clicking my A button, I'm going to set that equal to true as actually false as well. And then let's add a comma. I'll go with something like D down. While my user is pushing my D button down, I'm going to set that equal to false as well. And then let's go ahead and add a comma. Okay, now I'm pretty sure I have to go with something like escape and like shift. Shift is to like get my user back to the center where you begin, and like escape is to exit. Hiding Mohammed, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, hiding PY, I appreciate you joining the stream as well. Hiding Bud, honestly, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? Okay, been a while since I joined your lives. Oh, that actually sounds pretty cool. Okay, that's it. I'll go with something like escape. So I'll go with ESC down while my escape button is being pushed down. I'll set that equal to be false as well. And then lastly, I'll go with something like shift down while my shift is being pushed down. I'm gonna set that equal to false as well, ending with a semicolon. Okay, hiding sparse. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, honestly, I feel that was pretty much it. These were like a lot of whatchamacallit variables. Okay, wanted to know about DSA. Honestly, I was pretty excited to start DSA eventually. Do you teach this? Do you teach same? Honestly, I feel like I'm actually not like whatchamacallit teaching the code. I'm just explaining you guys so I do understand myself. NPC, guys, I feel like sometimes I do feel like whatchamacallit, I talk like an NPC. Just wondering, what are you coding? Honestly, basically, I am like trying to whatchamacallit learn about keyboard control. So like moving a rectangle using mouse buttons. Yesterday, I did move like a triangle, rectangle, and a circle. But it was just one stream, so I thought like I might as well do it this stream as well to like get pretty good practice. Okay, that's it. Now let's go ahead and exit outside of my event loop. I will be coming back to my event loop, but before that, I do want to add a few whatchamacallit attributes for my windows. So I'll go with something like fill screen first. I want my screen to be. I always keep my screen cyan. I think I'll keep it cyan this time as well. Okay, that's it. I'll go ahead and firstly, if I do want to color something, I do gotta use a renderers function. So I'll go ahead and use the SDL underscore set render. I'm gonna set my render to draw a color. So I'll use the SDL underscore set render draw color function. This actually whatchamacallit gives my render a color. Take off render like a paintbrush. You dip it inside of a color. Now it has a color to color. If that made any sense, guys. And my SDL underscore set render draw colors function does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderers variable. The second, third, and fourth parameter is going to be a RGB value. I'll go with something like 0, 248, and 255. And lastly, I'll need an opacity slash alpha. I'll go with 255. And then let's go ahead and end it with a semicolon. Basically, opacity is like how transparent or like not transparent it is. Like 255 is like not transparent at all, and like 0 is like completely transparent, you can't see anything. That said, next up, let's go ahead and use the function that actually colors my entire screen with the color that I just set. To do that, I could use the SDL underscore, let's say something like a render clear function. This clears my screen with the color that my render currently has, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. And now that I'm like done adding done coloring my screen, let's go ahead and add a few graphics for my rectangle. Okay, now I don't want my rectangle to be cyan as my as my background as well, because I won't be able to see it in that case. That's why I'll go ahead and use the SDL underscore set render draw color function again with a pair of parentheses. I'm going to change the color inside of my render. So I'll go with renderer, and then RGB is going to be, I don't know, maybe something like red. So I'll go with 23500, and then my opacity slash alpha is going to be 235 as well, ending with a semicolon. Now that my render does have a color, I do want to color something. I want to color my rect, and apparently C++ does have a function that does color my rectangle. So I could go and use the SDL underscore render, stop saying my render, to fill my rect with a pair of parentheses. Now this does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render variable, my paintbrush. The second parameter is going to be the memory address of my rect. It was basically my this rect that I set it to my structure of frect. Okay, and then that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, I feel like honestly this is pretty much it for my rectangles and graphics. Nothing much, because like rectangles are pretty easy. Okay, and then I gotta go ahead and present it all on my screen, because if I didn't present my render on my screen, then it's just basically going to be black and white. That said, I'll go ahead and present it by using the SDL underscore, let's say something like render present function. The render present function does present my renderers, this paintbrush on my screen, so all the colors are going to be showing right now. Okay, and lastly, let's go with something like FPS, like frames per second, because I don't want my render or like my rec to move like super quick. To do that, I could use the SDL underscore delay function. My delay function does require a parameter in milliseconds, and basically 16 milliseconds is like the same as 60 frames per second. So that's going to be 60 FPS, ending with a semicolon. And now let's go outside my my main loop, or like my main game loop, because I'm going to be adding the attributes once my main loop is over now. To do that, firstly, let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like cleanup, because I am going to be working on a few cleanups. So there we go. Okay, so firstly, once my user does exit my window, I do want to destroy it. So I could use the SDL underscore, let's say something like destroy window function with a pair of parentheses. This function does require my window parameter, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore quit function ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's go ahead and return 0 saying everything went good here. Okay, and this wasn't honestly it. This was like the basic, whatchamacallit, the easier part that I always be doing. Now comes the harder part. I gotta add my event loops. So I used a few variables here. Okay, so let's actually put those variables to some use. So firstly, I'm gonna go outside of my initial if statement and add another if statement. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Hello, hiding focus. I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, I'll go with something like if my event type, if my event variables' current type is equal to SDL underscore, I forgot the function name. Was it something like SDL underscore key underscore down? SDL underscore key underscore down? Okay, wasn't SDL underscore key underscore down? What up, guys? What was the function? I actually forgot. Okay, I'm pretty sure it was something like SDL underscore key underscore down. I'm pretty sure that was like for my lower key. What up, guys? Let me actually pop sensei/chat GPT up here. Okay, let's go all the way up because I do want to see whatchamacallit. I forgot the function name. There's no way I forgot it. What up, guys? Okay, so it's SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. Okay, guys, I forgot the event. There we go. Because, guys, I feel there are so many functions to memorize. So SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. There we go. Okay, so if my event type is down, which means my button is currently being pushed down, I want to do something. Let's go ahead and use matches for this time. So I'll go with something like a match. My bad, guys. Switches. I'm used to matches are like in Python, like match cases in Python. Switches are in other languages. So I'll go with switch, add a pair of parentheses. Okay, my switch is gonna be for, I don't know, let's go with something like my event variable .key. I'm assuming that is event.key's current key that's being pressed. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now let's go with something like case. My case 1 is gonna be checking if my SDL's this key is, let's say something like W. If my W key is being pressed, I'm gonna be doing something. Let's go ahead and set my W down to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with my second case. My second case is going to be SDL's key. If my, there we go, SDL's key. If my current key is, let's say, something like S, then I'm going to do something. My S down's boolean variable is going to be set to true, which means my key is being currently pushed down. And then I'll go with my third case. This is going to look for something like SDL's key. Let's go with something like A this time. If my user clicked my A button, then I'm going to go with something like A down, which is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. And my fourth case is going to be for my D. I'll go with something like if my SDL, this key is currently D. There we go. Okay, I'll add a colon. Excuse me, guys. I'll add a colon here. And then I'll set my D down to be equal to true. My D is currently being pushed down, ending with a semicolon. And then now let's go ahead and add 2 more cases. This time I'll add a case for, okay, how do I add a case for my SDL escape? Like, is it something like ESC? What up, guys? There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's get, there's stop, there's at. Isn't there something like escape? ES. Isn't there escape? There's end. Where's ESC? There we go. Is it escape? Does it make sense, guys? Is this escape considered like my ESC? Okay, if it is set to true, then I'm going to go with something like ESC down. My escape is currently being pushed down, so I'm going to be setting that to be true as well. And now lastly, I'll go ahead and check if my shift is being pushed down. So I'll go with something like SDL's key is currently shift. Okay, guys, I thought that I'll be predicting the name. Okay, let's go with something like shift. Okay, there are like multiple shifts here. There is like L shift, R shift. What shift am I looking for? Okay, maybe I think it should have been control and not shift. What up, guys? I'll go with something like control. Let's change control to let's go with something like control. What up, guys? Let's lowercase my control. Okay, isn't Python way better than C++? honestly, I wouldn't like say Python is like way better than C++, like C++ is way better than Python, because like both programming language are better for like different stuff. Python is mostly meant for like AI slash machine learning. If you do want to like work with AIs or like whatchamacallit, build AIs, that's a C++ is for like making softwares and games. Python does run slower than C++, so people do say like it's pretty good to like even learn C++. Okay, this is gonna be something like control, shift R, I'll go with something like CTRL. What is the difference between LCTRL and like right control? Hold up, guys. Okay, maybe I just go with something like control. There is no control. Okay, I'll just go with left CTRL. Okay, might need to look at the case for the key. Might need to look at the case for the key. So honestly, that does make sense, but I don't know like which, because there's like should be A down, should be A. I'm pretty sure I went. Oh, I didn't go with A down. Guys, I feel like I make so many silly mistakes. Okay, perfect. That said, oh, that's good information. I want to learn how to code. Oh, honestly, good luck with that, Samaru. Okay, actually, is it pronounced as samurai? I think it's actually samurai. Okay, so I'll go with something like my control. Was it spelled as something like control? Okay, control down. So I'll go with something like my control down. Boolean variable is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. And now, just to save time, I am going to be copying my entire if statement here. And let's go ahead and paste it like all the way here. There we go. Okay, now for this if statement, I'm just going to be changing my down to be up. Okay, and then the event.key is correct. And let's change something like true to be false. So I'm going to change that to false again. And if my S is being pushed upwards, it's going to be set to false. False. Let's go with something like false. Guys, this saves so much time. Yesterday I did like manually write this whole stuff. Then one of you guys did say me, if I like did this, it would have saved so much time. I think C++ is better than Python because you have more control over everything, and it's a very fast language. Honestly, that does make sense, but I feel like Python is like good like in the terms like whatchamacallit, if you like think in a Pythonic way, because like Python is like good for like making AIs and everything. I feel like could we make like AIs using C++ as well? I think we can do that. Okay, that said, I'm done adding my if statements and everything here. Now, outside my while loop, let's go outside my event loop, add a comment here that says something like key controls. I'll go with something like key controls. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a if statement here to check if my buttons are being clicked. So let's say something like if W down is set to true, I'm going to do something. Let's go with something like my rect.y-axis is going to be increasing by my, actually is going to be decreasing with my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. And then let's add another if statement, if a pair of parentheses, if s.down is currently being clicked, or if it's set to true, I'm going to go with my rect.y-axis, which is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Let's go with another if statement now. If my A down is set to true, let's move toward the left. So I'll go with something like my rect.x-axis is going to be decreasing by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Hiding M3's, I pronounce your name. I appreciate you joining the stream. I created D++ programs is not public, so it's cool. Oh, I see. Hiding collaboration, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Now, after my if statement here, let's add another if statement. I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my D is being pushed down or it's set to true, I'm going to set my rect.x-axis to increase by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. How are you doing? Honestly, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, collaboration? Okay, I'll go with something like rect. There we go. Okay, now there are two more if statements left. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my shift, it's escape. If my escape down is set to true, I'm going to do something. Let's go ahead and set my is running Boolean variable to be equal to, let's say something like false, ending with a semicolon. That does end my loop. And then I'll go with another if statement with a pair of parentheses that does check something. Let's check something like if my control, I'll go with something like if my control is being pushed down. Isn't this how we spelled it? So, oh, I think I spelled control wrong. What up, guys? There we go. If my control is set to true, I'm going to be doing something. what type of game are you building? Honestly, I'm just learning on how to master key controls and like whatchamacallit, moving shapes using pressing my keyboards and everything. That said, if my control is whatchamacallit set to down, I'm gonna go with something like rect.x-axis is gonna be equal to 100 ending with a semicolon, and then rect.y-axis is gonna be equal to 200 ending with a semicolon. Their initial positions when I did create them. Okay, and honestly, that should be pretty much it. I feel like this is basically everything. Okay, let's go ahead and add a controllers to save the code. If I were to run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so our first terminal did pop up. Let's wait for our second terminal. Okay, so our second terminal is right there. If I hit W, the program ends once I hit W for some reason. Oh, that's great. Guys, did I make a typo here real quick? If control is being pushed down, they go in middle. If W by y-axis velocity decreased, what up guys, did I like, why is my is running is set to false if I hit escape? Let's remove this real quick. Okay, I think I'm going to redeem the gift card. Oh, that actually sounds pretty cool. That's how I'll go with control as to save the code and run the command again. Would that fix it? So my first terminal pops up here, my second terminal as well. Okay, now my my object does not move. Wait, it does move, does it? Hold up, guys. Was it just, did I imagine it moving or did it actually like move? Okay, if I had control, it doesn't move. Doesn't go to the left. Guys, how did that move? Hold up, guys. How is it moving? Okay, guys, something doesn't look correct here. Hold up, let's go all the way up here. Okay, if I hit control, it gets back to the center. Okay, if my D is being pushed down, it increases my y-axis underscore velocity. If my A is being pushed down, it decreases my y-axis underscore velocity. I feel I was really thorough with this stuff. Okay. Okay, wait, if my control, that is going to be set to false, okay, I should be moving smoothly up here. If event.type, so if SDL underscore event is key up, okay, if that is my case, I'm gonna set W down to false, S down to false, A down to false, D down to false, F down to false, escape down to false. Okay, and I did add my FPS as well, so it couldn't be my FPS. I presented my renderer, I added a color to my rect, I filled my screen. Basically, I did everything correctly here. Hold up, guys. I added a bunch of if statements, not else if. Why are you learning this? Honestly, I feel like it is kind of fun. Okay, and then I set everything to be true here. So there is W that's set to true, S is set to true, WSAD, WSAD, and then escape and control. I think it is escape and C control. What up, guys? Let me actually add like another if statement here real quick of something like if a of parentheses, let's say something like if my escape down is set to true, I'm going to do something. Let's go and set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false ending with a semicolon. Now let's go with control A, control C, copy that. Let's get sensei/chatgpt here real quick. There we go. Let's go ahead and paste. Let's go with shift enter and say something like, sensei, I feel like I did everything correct, but something feels wrong, question mark. I think it's the function that I use, like the L control and like the escape type stuff. That's letting me hydrate my lips real quick. I feel it's kind of dehydrated. Okay, you feel it because you know it, people. Something is wrong. Your instincts are right. The issue is in those switch statements inside your event handling, you forgot to scan break. Guys, there we go. This is what I keep saying. I make so many silly mistakes. I did forget to add breaks. Let's go ahead and add breaks here, ending with a semicolon. Let's add a break here as well, ending with a semicolon. Let's go ahead and add a break here too. Okay, let's go ahead and add a break here as well, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's go ahead and add break here for this if statement. Now, afterwards, let's go to my up as well. I'm going to add a few breaks here as well. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and add a break here too. Hey guys, honestly, there is like no way that I did forget to add these breaks. I should like pay more attention. I feel like I make more typos like manually typing stuff. That said, now for it control has to save the code and run the command. My first window popped up, my second window popped up as well. Okay, this time it does run, but if I hit D or something, it does end my loop. Okay, to fix that, let's read everything that's intended to say. Okay, after each case, without when the code falls through every single key case, meaning when they press W, it also triggers SAD escape and control. The rectangle obeys chaos, not your commands. So this part, excuse me guys, I gotta add whatchamacallit breaks to it. Guys, I feel doing it this way is like much cleaner. Okay, and the same for SDL underscore event key up. Okay, what up guys, let's go with something like, excuse me guys, control A, control C, copy that. Let's get some say slash chat GPT. Hold up guys, let me cancel that. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and paste it here. Go with shift enter and say something like, so let's say my whatchamacallit, my rectangle moved exclamation, although my program ends as well in a few seconds, question mark. Okay, did I like mess something up with my is running? Okay, good. Your rectangle moves, which means your hands have learned to command. Okay, to command master itself, but the window closing itself is a betrayal from your logic. Look closely, people inside your key down. Okay, so SDL's key escaped, then I break. See it, you forgot the break. I added the break here. After SDL honor, did I forget the break here? Oh, wait, D down. Hold up, guys. There's no way. How do I keep forgetting to add breaks? Wait, did I? I added a break here, added a break here. Okay, I added a break. Oh, I didn't add a break here. No wonder. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and add a break here, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now I hit Control S to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Let's get my first terminal up here. Second terminal. There we go. Actually, I think it is my window. There we go. Okay, it does move right now. If I hit Control, it gets in the center. If I hit Escape, it does exit. That makes so much more sense, guys. I just missed the breaks. Okay, I'm glad the logic was correct. It was just a silly mistake, guys. Okay, I'll go with Control A, Control C. Let's get some slash chat GPT here. This time, maybe I want to go ahead and make triangles. I feel that's more complicating. Let's say something like, let's say, it works, exclamation. That said, I don't take credit for this question. Although, can I make a triangle this time, question mark? Guys, I feel triangle is going to be much more complicating, but that is actually kind of fun as well. That's an energy, you can absolutely make a triangle next, okay? Well, since it says that, let's go with Control A and delete everything. Now, let me start off by firstly including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream, the eyes and ears of my program. And then let's include a pair of ankle braces as well. Since I am going to be using SDL3, I will be including SDL3 and all the header files for my SDL. Okay, then let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. My main function does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is a pointer to, let's say, an array of argv with a pair of square brackets. And then let's go with a pair of curly braces. Hold up, guys, there we go. Okay, now inside of my main function, let's go ahead and add an if statement to check if my SDL was not initialized properly. So I'll go with something like not SDL to SDL underscore init with a pair of parentheses. I'll go with something like SDL underscore init underscore video. Okay, that checks if it was not initialized properly, and if it wasn't initialized properly, I'll go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator that gives me an SDL. What up, guys? There we go. That gives me an SDL underscore init error. Okay, and then let's go in a new line, add another insertion operator. I'm going to be using the SDL underscore get error function because like I did get an error, so this brings an error up to me with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's go ahead and return 1. What up, guys? There we go. Okay, lastly, let's go ahead and return 1 saying something went wrong with this code. Gotta check it out. Okay, now that I've added like initialized my SDL and checked if it was not initialized properly, let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like create window and renderer. And before I do create my window and renderer, I do want to also add my game variables. These are going to be the basic variables that my game would need, so I'll go with something like game variables. Okay, the first variable could be like my windows width and height. So I could go with something like a constant integer of I don't know, something like width. This is going to be my Windows's width, which is going to be set to 800 pixels, ending with a semicolon. Then I'll go with something like an integer of, I don't know, maybe height, which is going to be set to 600 as well, ending with a semicolon. That is my Windows's height. Next up, let me drink some water. I feel I'm kind of dehydrated. Okay, now since I am going to be like moving stuff using my keys, I might have to add velocities as well. So let's go ahead and create a few velocities. The first velocity, honestly, I'll go with something like a floating point velocity. Let's go with something like a floating point, I don't know, maybe for my x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to 4.0 f ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with something like a float of my y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be something like 8.0 f. Okay, honestly, I want to keep my velocities the same. I'm going to change my 4 to 8 as well, because like I want my square to be a little fast. That's it. Since I am actually not square, guys, my triangle, and since I am making a triangle, I would need offsets as well. So let's go ahead and create an integer. Excuse me, guys. Offset x. Okay, offset underscore x-axis, which is going to be equal to 0, ending with a semicolon, and then I will need an offset for a y-axis as well. So I'll go with something like offset underscore y-axis, which is going to be equal to 0 as well, ending with a semicolon. And that's pretty much it for my game variables. Now let's work on creating my window and renderer. So to create my window and renderer, firstly, I would have to create 2 local variables. The first local variable is going to be of my SDL underscore window, and it will be a pointer. Okay, which is going to be set to null PDR, ending with a semicolon. Then let's create a renderer. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore renderer, with an asterisk for my renderer local variables. So there we go, which is going to be set to null PDR as well. That is basically a placeholder too. Okay, now that I've created both the local variables that I'm going to be using, let's actually use the function that does create my window and my renderer both at the same time. To do that, I could go with something like SDL underscore create window and what up, guys, and renderer function with a pair of parentheses. Okay, now my SDL underscore create window and renderer function does require 6 parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title / a caption for my window. I could go with something like SDL3 window created exclamation, and then I'll add a comma. Now I'm going to be needing a width for my window and a height for my window. These could be these 2 variables that I created here. So let's go with something like my width, which is going to be 800, and then something like my window's height, which is going to be 600. And then we're going to be needing a flag. If you guys don't want to add a flag, you guys could add 0, but I want to add a flag. My flag is going to be something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. This flag, makes my window resizable, and then I'll add a comma. Now for the 5th and 6th parameter, I am going to be requiring the memory address of my window local variable and the memory address of my renderer local variable. To do that, I could go with something like an ampersand of window and then the address of operator for my renderer variable. Okay, perfect. Once I'm done with that, let's go ahead and end my create window and renderer function with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Now that I've created my window and my renderer, let's go ahead and add an if statement to check if they were not created properly. So I could go with something like if a pair of parentheses, let's say something like if not window, or if not renderer. If either one of them were not created properly, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, and then inside my curly braces, firstly, I'm going to throw myself a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to give me, let's say something like a SDL underscore, let's say something like create a window, and guys, there we go, and renderer error. Okay, perfect. And then let's go in a new line, add another insertion operator. Now I'm gonna get myself an error, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore get error. This function throws me an error with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Now that if either my window or my renderer was not created properly, firstly I do want to exit my SDL. To do that, I could go with something like SDL underscore quote with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And lastly, just return 1 saying something went wrong here. Check this code out. Okay, perfect. And then now after that, once I'm done creating my window and renderer, I will be adding a comment here. This is going to be a bit tricky, guys. Let's go with something like my triangle properties. There we go. Okay, for my triangle properties, this is going to be a bit confusing. So I'm not going to be using squares or rectangles to make my triangle. I am going to be using lines. So let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore F lines structure. Okay, wait, isn't it called like F line? Was it something like F point? Or no, I think it was supposed to be a render point, right? Or I should create vertices. So let's go with something like F point. Okay, and then I'm gonna set my F point to be equal to, honestly, I think I should go with something like equal to, I don't know, maybe a pair of curly braces. Okay, this is going to be vertices 1. So I'll go with vertices 1, which is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. Now I'm going to be needing two parameters, x-axis and y-axis in floating point numbers. I do not remember the parameters, so I'll go with something random. Let's go with something like 100 floating point or 100.of, which is a floating point number. I don't know, maybe 400.of. Guys, this is going to be like a really misshapen triangle because I don't remember the coordinates memorized. That's it. Let's create another vertice slash point. I'll go with something like SDL underscore F point. This is going to be my vertices 2, which is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. I don't know, maybe something like 500.of. And then I'm going to go with something like 100.of. Guys, this triangle does not look good. Okay, now finally I'll go with my last SDL underscore F.3. The reason I did go with 3 vertices is like because my triangle is going to be having 3 lines as well. This is going to be vertices 3, which is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. I don't know, maybe I'll go with 300.of and 250.of. Guys, these are absolutely random coordinates because I should have memorized the actual correct ones. Okay, now once I'm done creating my triangles properly, let me think if I'm going to need anything else. Okay, I honestly don't think I'm going to be needing anything else. So I'll add a comment here that says something like a main loop. This is going to be my main loop. Now, inside of my main loop, firstly, let's go ahead and add a few boolean variables. So I'll go with something like a boolean of d down. Actually, let's go with something like w first. I'll go with something like w down. While my w, actually I'm going to set that initially to be false. My w is not being pushed down. And then I'll add a comma. I'll go with something like s down. That is not being pushed down as well. So I'll go with something like false. Then let's go with something like a down. My a is not being pushed down as well. Ending with a semi. Actually, I won't end it with a semicolon. My bad, guys. I'll go with something like d down while my d is being pushed down. Actually, I keep saying like while my d is being pushed down. It's currently not being pushed down. That's why I said these two false. These are their like default values. Okay, and then I'll add another comma. Now, do I really want to go with like escape? Might as well. So I'll go with something like escape down is going to be set to false as well because my escape is not being held down. I'll add a comma, and then let's go with something like a control down. So I'll go with something like CTRL down, which is going to be set to false as well, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. And then once I'm done with all that, let's add another boolean value of something like is running, which is currently set to true initially, ending with a semicolon. And then finally, let's add an event variable because I will be needing a variable to check the current event type. Hello, how's your day going? Honestly, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, comrade? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that said, I'll go with something like SDL underscore event. This is going to be this SDL underscore events structure consists of all the SDL events which can be now accessed using this local variable. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add a while loop. So I'm going to add my main loop. So I'll go with something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true. I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, add a comment that says something like event loop. So let's go with something like event loop. Okay, now inside of my event loop, I'm going to be adding another while loop. Say while loop inside of a while loop, basically a nested loop. So I'll go with something like while a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like while SDL underscore poll event. What up, guys? There we go. While SDL underscore poll event, basically the poll event function checks what event am I currently looking for. If an event is met, I'm going to execute that event and then stop it after that one iteration. Okay, this is going to be having the parameter. This is going to have a parameter of the memory address of my event variable. And then let's go with the pair of curly braces. Hey everyone, is this a game being built using SDL3 graphics library? Pretty cool. Honestly, I won't say like this is an actual game, but like eventually at the end of my programming for 258 series, I will be making a game in general that consists of AI logic in it. That's it. This is just the preparations, like learning the basics of SDL3, because I did like start learning SDL3. I think it's been a week or something now. Okay, that said, now inside of my SDL underscore poll events is while loop, I'm going to look for a while loop. So I'll go with something like if a parentheses. Let's say if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event dot type is quit, I'm going to do something. I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. There we go. Okay, now after my initial while loop, I'm going to exit out of it and add a few while loops for my button presses that I added like falses here. I gotta set them to be true when like a button is being clicked. To do that, let's go with another if statement with a pair of parentheses. Let's say this time something like if my event.type, if my event's current type is equal to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. If my key is being pushed down, then I'm going to do something. Okay, nice chat. Make sure to subscribe. Honestly, I appreciate it. Jimmy is a bot. Okay, that said, let's go ahead and add a pair of curly braces here now. So inside of my if statement, I am going to be using switches. So let's go with something like switch with a pair of parentheses. Actually, yeah, with a pair of parentheses. I'm going to look for a specific type of case. So I'll go with something like event.key. If my event's current key is a key. Is this how we read it, guys? I honestly don't even know how to read this part. Okay, that said, let's go ahead and add a few cases now. So for my case 1, I'm going to check if my W down is set, if my SDL, my bad guys, if my SDL's key is W, if it is W, I'm going to set my W down to be equal to true. My W down is being pushed down currently. And then for my second case, I'll check if my SDL's key is S, if my S is being pushed down. If it is, I'll set my S down to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. For my case number 4, I'm going to check if my SDL's key is currently A. If my A key is being pushed down, I'm going to set my A down boolean variable to be true, ending with a semicolon. For my case 4, I'm going to check if my SDL's key is currently D. If my D is being pushed down, I'm going to set my D down boolean variable to be true, ending with a semicolon as well. There we go, guys. The silly mistake that I made last time as well. I forgot to add breaks. Let's go with something like break. Let's add a break here as well. There we go. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add a break here too, ending with a semicolon. And lastly, let's go ahead and add a break for my D down as well. Okay, now after I added a break for my D down, let's check if my escape was being pushed down. So I'll go with something like if my SDL this key is currently escape. I forgot. Was it something like escape? Was it that? Okay, I think it was escape. There we go. Then I'm going to go with something like my ESC down boolean variable is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. I will be adding a break. For my final case, my case number 5. I want to be friends with you. Honestly, that does sound pretty cool, Pikachu. Okay, that said, I'll go with something like SDL's key. Let's say my SDL's key is something like control. Was it something like L control? What up, guys? Was it something like this? I forgot what it was called. Let's go with something like CTRL. Okay, I think it was LCERL. Then I'm going to set my CTRL down boolean variable to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll add a break. And that's pretty much it for my if statement. Now let's go ahead and copy my if statement just to save some time. I'm going to go all the way down here and paste it here. Okay, now for my second if statement, I'm not going to look for my event type if my key is being pushed down. Instead, I'll go ahead and check if my key is being pushed up. Means if my user clicks down and then leaves my key up, now my key is upwards. Then I'm going to change all the trues to be false. So let's change all this to be false. Honestly, I might copy this to save time. Let's just go ahead and highlight that, change that to false, and change that to false as well. Okay, perfect. And that's pretty much it. Okay, honestly, that is pretty much it. Now, let's go ahead and exit outside of my event loop, which is going to exit all the way here. I'm going to go down here, scroll all the way up, and now let's add a comment that says something like key controls. So I'll go with something like key controls. for my key controls, firstly, let's add an if statement. So I'll go with something like if a parentheses. Let's say something like if my W is set to true, if my W down is set to true, let's say I'm gonna increase my rect, or okay guys, this is not gonna be my rect. Hold up, maybe before I add my key controls, this part is going to be complicating because I'm not having rects, I'm going to be having triangles this time. So first let's go ahead and draw my triangle. I might go with something like fill screen first before I do draw my triangle. Good time to learn. Honestly, that does sound pretty good, Tamu. Okay, so I'll go with something like screen. Okay, so for filling my screen firstly, I would have to add a color to my renderer. Bro, I got a C++ exam in 2 days. I haven't wrote a single line of code, but know the basics of it. What should I do? Honestly, if you have tutors, I feel that is like a lot. It depends. You should like actually check your curriculum. Is that what we call it? Like what all you gotta actually study and then just practice for the 2 whole days. Maybe like I think I would recommend spending about 10 hours or like at least 5 hours if like the exam isn't 2 days. Because it's honestly not that hard if you like actually know the basics. That's it. How you doing, long story? How you doing, Tamil? I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. For filling my screen, firstly, let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore set render draw color function. So I'm going to set my renderer to draw a color. There we go. And my SDL underscore set render draw color function does need a few, a few parameters. Let's say the first parameter is going to be my renderer's local variable, basically my paintbrush. And then the second, third, and fourth parameter is going to be an RGB value. I'll go with something like 0, 248, and 255. That's basically a signed color. Let's just delete that. There we go. And last, I'll need an opacity. I'll go with something like 255. Let's go ahead and end my entire set render draw color function with a semicolon. Man, I'm cooked. Honestly, I'm not actually cooked. Then you should actually, I feel like 2 days is like a lot of time, and I feel like C++ isn't even that hard, honestly. It depends. Are you like actually, is your test on like SDL or like a game engine using C++ or just like the basics of C++? Like, already mic testing, mic testing. Hey guys, apparently my entire PC got shut off for some reason. Okay, that said, bro, how many days are you doing coding? Honestly, my initial goal is like to program for like 250 days. That said, this is currently like I think about day 59 or something. Yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and remove all this stuff. I'm pretty sure Discord is going to be opened as well. But up guys, let's just go ahead and remove everything from here real quick. There we go, guys. I don't know what happened. My entire PC got shut down for some reason. Okay, I think we're good right now, guys. Okay, let's just set everything back up here. Okay, now I'm in high school, so probably strings and if else type stuff. I did learn basic C middle school. Oh, I see. That actually does sound pretty cool. If statements are pretty fun. Alright guys, let me just close Discord real quick. There we go. Okay, I had to like power on my entire PC for some reason. Okay, now what did I have to do again? Where was I? Okay, I was going to make a triangle on my screen. Okay, how do you build your logics? Honestly, I feel like it does come like from practice and like repetitions. First, I do instructional based questions, and then later on, I do get ideas on how to do stuff / what all else. That said, for my key actually, before adding my key controls, I'm gonna add another comment. Maybe I'll add it after my fill screen. Okay, guys, I remember I didn't fill my entire screen, so I gotta use the SDL underscore render clear function with a pair of parentheses. This is gonna have my renderer variable ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like graphics. So I'll go with something like graphics. Okay, now for my graphics, firstly, let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore set render draw color function again. Are you in college? Honestly, I am like a freshman in college. That's it. I haven't like taken any programming courses yet. Okay, so I'll go with set render draw color. There we go. With a pair of parentheses. Now, what color do I want my triangle to be? Honestly, I want it to be something like a black color, so I'll go with 000 for my RGB. Lastly, my opacity / my alpha is going to be 255, ending with a semicolon. And then after I'm done adding my graphics, let's go ahead and do something else. Okay, let's see. Okay, firstly, I'm going to be going all the way down here. And now, how would I actually draw my, my triangle? I could actually draw it using the SDL underscore render line. So I'm saying my renderer to render a line / draw a line on my screen. Now my SDL underscore render line does require 5 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render this variable. Let's actually go down because I might need a lot of space for this. The second parameter is going to be my x1, third is going to be y1, and fourth and fifth is going to be x2 and y2. x1 is my starting point for my x-axis, y1 is my starting point for my y-axis. x2 and y2 are my ending points for my x-axis and my y-axis, if that made any sense, guys. To do that, my x1 could be my vertices 1.x-axis, and then y1 is going to be my vertices 1.y-axis. Okay, and then let's add a comma here. Now I'm gonna go with, let's say, something like x2 and y2, so I'll go with vertices 2.x-axis, comma, and then I'll add something like vertices 2.y-axis. Let's go with something like vertices 2.y-axis. Okay, perfect. And then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Are you planning to get a job in coding? Honestly, I don't know much about that, guys, because like, whatchamacallit, I actually don't like prefer the idea of like getting a job, but I feel like eventually if I have to, I might actually do it. That's it, dude. But how are you still doing it? I mean, looking at myself, I can do a single thing. Okay, look at myself, I can do a single thing with consistency. That's why I'm so shit at everything. Honestly, guys, I feel like it's just the mindset. Like, you guys, even if like there are a few days when I didn't prefer to actually code, but I still did it. Eventually, it does like become a habit, and then you guys would be like, oh wow, I actually can do it. You guys gotta build like a trust with yourself. That said, after I'm done rendering my first line, I'm gonna go ahead and render my second line. So I'll use the SDL underscore render lines function again. Okay, now the first parameter is going to be my render, which is technically black for the time being, and then now I'm going to be needing x1. My x1 is going to start off where my previous x2 ended. So for my line 1, I used vertices 2, so my x1 for my second line is going to start from vertices 2. So I'll go with vertices 2.x-axis, vertices 2.y-axis, and then my x2 and y2 here is going to be my vertices 3.x-axis and vertices 3.y-axis. And then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon as well. And can you guys even like see the whole thing? Okay, there we go. Next up, let's go with something like my final line, because like a triangle does have 3 lines. I'll go with something like SDL underscore render line. Okay, now I'll go with a pair of parentheses here as well. Now I'm going to be firstly adding my render variable as a parameter, and then where my previous line ended at like vertices 3 and vertices 3. So now my x1, where my line is going to be beginning, is where it ended from my previous line, if that made any sense, guys. So I'll go with something like vertices 3.x-axis and vertices 3.y-axis for my x1 and y1. And then now where I wanted to end, I wanted to end from where it began, since it is like a triangle. So my x2 and y2 is going to be vertices 1.x-axis and vertices 2.y-axis. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end this whole thing with a semicolon. Alright, perfect. Now with that said, I'm pretty much done with adding my with creating my triangle. So I'll add a comment here that says something like graphics. Actually, not graphics. I'll add a comment that says something like present. Presenting is basically all my objects and everything in my window is going to be like colorless unless I didn't present my render on my screen. So to present it, I could use the function called something like SDL underscore render present. With a pair of parentheses, this does require a parameter of, let's say, something like my render variable, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and honestly, I feel like that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and add my FPS as well. So I'll add a comment that says something like FPS. To add my FPS, I'll go ahead and use the SDL underscore delays function. Let's go with something like 16 milliseconds. My SDL underscore delay does require a parameter in milliseconds. 16 milliseconds is basically the same as 60 frames per second. That's it. Hiding lame. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, perfect. After I'm done with all this, that was pretty much it. I'm going to be adding my key controls in a bit, guys. That's it. Let's go with something like cleanup. So once my user exits my window, I'm going to go ahead and do some cleanup. Okay, so for my cleanup, firstly, let's destroy my window. I think this would look better if it was like lowercase. There we go. To destroy my window, I could go ahead and use the function called SDL underscore destroy window. So there we go. Okay, with the of parentheses, my SDL underscore destroy window function does require parameter of my window variable ending with a semicolon. Then let's go with something like SDL underscore quit. I'm gonna quit my SDL once my window has been closed, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's go ahead and return 0, saying something went wrong here. Check, actually everything went correct here. Guys, I can't speak. Okay, perfect. That's it. Now I'm pretty much done with my cleanup and everything. Now, guys, for the hard part, let's work on the key controls. What is SDL? I only know command print in Python. Honestly, if you like ever heard about PyGames in Python, PyGames is just used like for Python. That's it. SDL is like PyGames, but like a version that is like accessible to like C#, C+, even C. I feel it might be accessible for like more languages. You guys should like actually fact check me on that. Okay, that's it. Now for my key controls, I'll add an if statement here. So I'll go with something like if a of parentheses. Let's say something like if w down is set to true, I'm gonna do something. Okay, I'm pretty sure I gotta move all 3 vertices. So I'll go with something like my vertices 1.x-axis is gonna increase by... Actually, it's gonna... Vertices 1.y-axis is gonna decrease by my y-axis underscore velocity ending with a semicolon. Vertices 2.y-axis is gonna decrease by my y-axis underscore velocity ending with a semicolon as well. Then vertices 3.y-axis is gonna decrease as well with my y-axis underscore velocity ending with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and check for the other buttons. So I might actually copy this to like save time. But guys, let's go ahead and paste this here. This time, instead of W, let's go with S. If my S is being pushed, I'm gonna be changing these minuses to like pluses. There we go. Ta-ta-ta. Okay, and then let's go ahead and paste this here all the way again. This time, I'll go with something like A. If my A is being pressed, I want to go towards the left. I'm going to be changing my x-axis this time. My x-axis is gonna... Okay, honestly, this says decrease. That's fine. I'll change it to something like D. With D, I'm gonna like decrease these. And then let's go ahead and paste it again. This time, let's go with something like A. Let's change the Y's to X's. There we go. Ta-ta-ta. Okay, and then I'm going to be increasing these. So I'll go with my vertices 1.x-axis increase by my y-axis velocity, vertices 2.x-axis increase by my y-axis underscore velocity, vertices 3.x-axis increase by my y-axis underscore velocity as well. And I will be changing these y's to x's as well, because like this is x-axis. Honestly, I feel they will like do the exact same thing, because like my x-axis and my y-axis are both set to like the floating point of 8. But I feel, guys, this is like more readable. There we go. Okay, and that's honestly pretty much it for like my key buttons. Although I do have like 2 more buttons. One is my escape and one is my control. So I could add one for those as well. So I'll go with something like if a of parentheses. Let's say if my escape is being pushed down, then I'm gonna go with something like a of parentheses. I'm gonna go ahead and set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and add another if statement, this time for my control. So I'll go with something like cdrl down. If my control is being pushed down, I'm gonna do something. Let's go ahead and... Wow, thanks, you're so intelligent. Keep going. Honestly, I feel like I'm the complete opposite of that, guys. I feel like I usually, use my memory to like write code. That's it. I did like understand a lot of these stuff too. I feel like it is kind of helpful to like keep doing questions as well. That said, if my control is being pressed, I'm gonna do something. Let's relocate my my vertices. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy these. Okay, let's go ahead and copy all this. Let me go ahead and copy that, and I'll paste it all the way here because I want to relocate my triangle to start where it like initially was. So vertices 1 is going to be set to that, vertices 2 is going to be set to that, and vertices 3 is going to be set to that. Okay, perfect. And now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So, my first terminal did pop up. Here, my first window did pop up. Guys, this does not look like a triangle. I feel like I kind of messed my triangle. Although it does move. Although, let me just change something real quick. Let me go ahead and change this to be something like D while my D is being pushed down, and this while my A is being pushed down. Because I feel like when I was pushing my A, I was going towards the left, but I want to go towards the right. Okay, so let's get my first window and my second window. I can go down, I can go towards the left, the right. Okay, and if I hit Control, I get back to the center. If I hit Escape, the entire program ends. Okay, perfect. I think I just messed up in my coordinates, but I feel like whatchamacallit, the coordinates isn't even that important because like eventually like we do like look at those things online. Although let's go with control A, control C, copy that. So let's go to say slash chat GPT here, let's paste it, go with shift enter and say something like, so say the code works, although I feel like my triangle looks more like a T than a triangle. Okay, let's see. Ha ha ha, you built a geometric abomination, pupil. You didn't summon a triangle, you summoned a mathematical T. Now, calm your trembling fingers. This mistake is beautifully stupid, and let me tell you why. Look closely at this line right here. Vertices 3. Oh, I went with vertices 2. This should have been vertices 1. Was it just that silly mistake? Guys, it's always me making silly mistakes. There we go. This should be vertices 1. I don't know why did I go with something like 2. Let's hit Ctrl S to save the code. Would this make it a triangle? Okay, so that's the first line. Alright guys, this doesn't look like a triangle. It just looks like a slash right now. What up guys, let me see everything carefully. Did I do it all correct? Vertices 1 dot x-axis, vertices 1, vertices 2 dot x-axis, vertices 2 dot y-axis, 2x, 2y, 3x, 3y, 3x, 3y, 1x, 1y. Okay, it is correct. I'm pretty sure that it's just my coordinates this time, guys. Hold up, let's get some say slash chat GPT back here. Let's go ahead and paste this. Go with shift enter and say something like, so let's say, now I just see a slash. I feel like my coordinates on my vertices were wrong, question mark. Hold up guys, I didn't make typo while writing this. That's actually pretty cool. That's it people, listen carefully. That slash you're seeing isn't a bug, it's a geometry screaming for balance. The coordinates you chose from points that are nearly straight lines, so in SDL is beautifully connecting them into what it looks like a slash. Nothing wrong with your math or code, your triangle just happens to be too skinny to show a shape. I see. Okay, this is what we did. Let's visualize this. This is bottom leftish, that is top rightish. Okay, let me actually try visualizing this. 100 for my x-axis, 400 for my y-axis, so it's at the bottom left. That is kind of correct. And then this is 100. 100 should be at the top. That is the top right. Okay. And then 302 will be somewhere in the middle of the line. Oh, I see. Okay. 100, 500, 500, 500, 300, 200. Okay, so I got it. Let me try this. So 100, 500, 500, 500, then a 300 and a 200. I might remember that from next time, guys. So 100, 500. Let's go with 500. Find OF. This is going to be 500, 500. Okay, and then that's going to be 300. This is going to be 200. And then let's go ahead and honestly change that up here as well. What up, guys? So let's zoom all the way out. Let's go ahead and copy that. Maybe I try writing it on my own. Let's see if I remember this, guys. Okay, so this had to be 100, 500. Okay, and then 500, 500. And then 300, 200. Okay, perfect. Now if I were to hit Ctrl S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. My first terminal did pop up. There we go, guys. That is like a perfect triangle that actually moves around as well. If I hit Control, it relocates at a center. So Control. If I hit Escape, it ends it. Alright, perfect. That's honestly like pretty much it for the triangle. I'll definitely remember these coordinates next time, guys. I hope I do. That's it. Let's go with Control A, Control C. Copy that. Let's get some say slash chat GPT back here. Let's paste it. Go with shift enter and say something like, say, it works, exclamation. Excuse me, guys. That said, what if I wanted to make the triangle a bit smaller? It feels really big, exclamation. That said, how do I add colors inside it as well, question mark? Guys, I didn't want to write this whole thing in caps. That said, yes people, that's what I like to hear. Progress that breathes fire. Now you've mastered motion. Let's name the size and color next. Make the triangle smaller. Right now your vertices are far apart, which makes the triangle look huge. 200, 400, 400, 400, 300, 250. What up guys, let's try that. So it's 200, was it 200, 400? Guys, I should like read it carefully. 200, 400, then two 400s, 300, 250. Okay, so this should be something like 200, 400, okay? And then that should be something like 400, 400, okay? And then 300, 250. Okay, let's see if I remember that. Let's change that for up here as well. So this has to be something like 200, 400. Okay, and this is going to be something like 400, 400 as well. This is going to be 300. That is going to be 250. Now, if I were to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, let's wait for my terminal. Guys, that's my first terminal. That's the second. Okay, that is like a relatively smaller triangle. If I did control, it relocates. That ends it. Escape ends my code. Okay, perfect. Hiding lame, I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Now to add color, SDL by itself doesn't have a built-in function like SDL fill triangle. Sadly, not yet. SDL3 either. You have two options. Option 1, use SDL_render geometry. This is the modern way to render filled color shapes with SDL3, okay? How can you fill your triangle with color? So I go with SDL_vertex, vertices, okay, that is 3. Red, green, blue, I see. And then render the triangles, so render a null pointer, vertices 3 null pointer. There's another variable. There we go. Okay, that will draw a filled triangle, smoothly blend between red, green, and blue. You can change those RGB values, however. Option 2, approximate fill, old trick, SDL_vertices. Okay, try the smaller triangle first, add SDL_vertices to fill it. Okay, let me say something like, let's say, I feel like the first one is actually, good. Okay, the first one, the modern method, looks good. That said, can you show me how to use it, question mark? Okay, AI really, as opposed to the official documentation. Honestly, I feel like ChatGPT is like really helpful when it comes to like learning stuff. That's it, good. That's the spirit. I want to see people. You don't run from modern methods, you conquer them. Alright, let's brace yourself. We're going to fill your triangle with color using SDL_render geometry function with SDL3's way of handling. Custom shapes with free vertex color. Here's a complete example you can copy and compile. Okay, I do want to like see how the code works. Okay, so after I add my triangles and vertices, I add my event loop, and then if, okay, I go with something like fill background, I fill my background, and now define the vertices with colors. So I use the SDL_vertices structure, okay, with Sensei GPT. Honestly, it does look pretty cool. Okay, looks like more spoon feeding. Honestly, I feel like I'm just learning it. Like, I'm just like reading the reference code and everything to like learn stuff. Because if I like, whatchamacallit, don't know the basics, I couldn't like actually code it myself. That said, I didn't like actually write this code on my own. I just like, whatchamacallit, got some help with the coordinates. Because like, I feel like I can memorize coordinates. It's kind of complicated, guys. Okay, that's it. But I do remember. So the coordinates for the current small triangle was around 200, 400, 400, 400, and 300, 250. I think I remember that part, guys. That said, for defining my vertices, I go with the SDL_vertex structure that has a local variable, which is an array, a local array, which consists of 3 variables or three elements, which is the equal to a pair of curly braces. Then, inside of a pair of curly braces, I add another curly braces, and inside of that curly braces, I add 2 more curly braces. The first curly braces has my vertices 1.x-axis, vertices 2.x-axis. The second curly braces has my RGB. What up, guys? If this is RGB, why are there 4 parameters here? Wait, I might actually copy this part real quick. I do want to test it first. Okay, let's go ahead and copy that real quick. Okay, and then let's go all the way here and let's paste it. I want to see if it actually works. Let me go all the way up here. Okay, so under my event loop, I'm assuming it should be after I'm done filling my screen. So that's key controls, that's fill screen. Okay, and then under my graphics, once I'm done creating my vertices, before I present it, let's go ahead and paste this here. So it says define vertices. Let's get this in a new line so you guys could like actually see this part as well. Let's hit enter. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's add the RGB in a new line as well, just so it's much clearer for you guys to see. Guys, does this even look clear at this point? There we go. Okay, so that's basically, I might add another space here. Okay, there we go. So that's my vertices 1. Okay, what other parameters does it require? Okay, can I hover over and can it show me? So, well, it's fine, I guess, until the AI dreams and decides to dream and speak random BS, which don't take a lot of time. Honestly, that does make sense, because, like, when I first started SDL, which we call it ChatGPT Slush, since it was making a lot of mistakes, that's at the first day I did, like, actually read documentation, but later I understood how to prompt ChatGPT properly. Ever since, I feel like, what you call it, all these things that I did learn was, like, using ChatGPT. Okay, that said, I should actually learn how to use the documentation as well, because I feel eventually I will like actually need it. That said, if I read control as to save the code and run the command, I want to see if my triangle is actually colored. That's my first window. Guys, that looks so good. And it actually moves, guys. This triangle looks, the color is so insane, honestly. Hold up, I'll go with something like control. Okay, now what does this mean? I do want to ask a question about this part. That said, I define the vertices with colors, so I go with SDL underscore vertices. Okay, and then this is something like 1.0f, 0.0f, 0.0f, 1.0f. Okay. Do you enjoy mathematics? And if so, what math class have you taken? Honestly, I haven't like taken any math course in college yet. That's it. It's not like I actually feel like I don't enjoy mathematics. I do like enjoy programming though, if that's considered the same thing, guys. Okay, that said, and then I go ahead and use the SDL underscore render geometry function. This does require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render variable. My texture is going to be set to null PDR. And then what was my other parameter? So it's texture. Then I go with something like a vertices. Okay, so this is going to be, excuse me guys, my vertices is parameter. Excuse me guys, again, this is my number of vertices. That's an array, by the way. My indices is going to be set to null PDR. Number of indices is going to be set to 0. I think I see. Okay, let's copy this part real quick. And then get sensei/ChatGPT up here. Hello, we meet again. How you doing? OJ Half, is that how you pronounce your name? Or like Partmesh, is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it, let's go ahead and paste this, go with Shift Enter and say something like, guys, did I open like a new chat? There we go. Okay, let's go with something like Shift Enter and say something like, Sensei, I feel like I didn't understand this part here. Why did I need to add 4 different values for my R? And 4 different values for my G, and also 4 different values for my B question mark. Also, what are we planning to do by the end of the project? Honestly, this is like a project for like making me learn, or like for me learning on how key controls work in C++. That said, whatchamacallit, next up, by the end of my programming for 250A series, my goal is to make a game in general which consists of AI logic in it. That said, good, you're asking the right kind of question that separates coders from pixel scorers. Okay, from pixel sorcerers, my bad guys. Hey Vic, when I ask about how you stream, I might give it a try, catch on the discipline to do stuff on regular basis. It actually sounds pretty cool. That's it, I do just use OBS to stream, and like, I do like program, but like teach you guys what I'm learning as well. Because like, I feel if we teach others, we do actually learn it better. Okay, that said, no, you're not giving 4 different values for red, or 4 different for green, or 4 different values for blue. You're giving 1 value each for the triangles' color components, but together they form something called RGBA. The A stands for alpha. Let's break it down. 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, red intensity, full red. 0 green intensity, no green, no blue. Alpha, fully transparent. Okay, so the whole group is 1 color. In that case, solid red. You made it. Okay, if you made it 0, 5, it'd be a light blue color. Each vertex gets RGBA color, and SDL uses those to blend smoothly across the shape. Vertices 1 corner red, green corner blue. Vertices 3 is this corner is going to be blue. I see the triangle between them blends those colors together. Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense now. So this is my RGBA for my vertices. One is x-axis and y-axis RGBA for the second one. Okay, if you understand Hindi, guys, honestly, I should like learn Hindi. That's it. I don't like understand it properly. I can like speak, but like I can't actually read it. That's it. So you're gonna make a video on how you stream. Honestly, I don't think like I'll make a video right now because like the way I do actually stream is like I just whatchamacallit downloaded OBS. I use OBS to like stream, and that's honestly pretty much it actually. Okay, that's my red, green, and blue. What if I change everything to something like 1.0? Let's go ahead and change that to 0. Okay, and change that to 1.0. Let's change that to 1.0 as well. Let's change that to 0 and that to 1.0. Now, if I were to save the code and run the command, this should be red, right? Okay, that's my first terminal. There we go. It is actually red. Okay, although even if it is red, I feel like could I go with something like 0? Maybe something like 255. Let me change that to 255 as well. Okay, and change that to 255 as well. Let's change this to something like 248. Okay, let's change that to 0. Or maybe 90 is good as well. Let's change this to 248. 248. Okay, and then let's go ahead and change this to 80. 80 and 80. That's going to be a good yellow color. There we go. So let's change the opacity to 255 and that's going to be 80. I feel I understand the raw RGBs better. Let's change that to 255 for my opacity. Change that to 255 as well for my opacity. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, guys, is that a white color? Did I create a white color? Hold up, guys. Is that a white color actually? What if I change that to something like 255, 255, okay, 255 here as well. Actually, 255, 0 and 0. That is going to be RGB. What up, guys? Let's change that to 255. Let's change that to 0 and 0. This should be a red color. If I were to save the code and run the command. Okay, it is a red color. Although, here's the question. Why didn't the previous one work? Maybe because I went with 255 for all. Okay, what happens if I change this to 255 and that to 255? Is that going to be 0? If I hit Control S to save the code and run the command. Okay, why does it change the whole thing to be white if like 1 is set to 255? What if this was set to something like 0? Does it change it all to be black or like gray or something? I know the RGB for gray is... Okay, it is white. What up, guys? There we go. It is white. Okay, let's go with something like Control C. Okay, let's change that to something like 0. Control Shift Z. There we go. Okay, now if I were to go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Okay, all 0 is black, then all white is 255 for each value. That actually does make sense. If I go to learn OBS because my ADHD kicked in and claiming to see it, honestly, good luck with that, Hussein. That's it. Let's get Sensei slash ChatGPT back here. Let me go ahead and paste this. Go with Shift Enter and say something like Sensei. Why is my entire triangle white? Is it because I didn't use floats? Floats and instead used raw numbers, question mark? Because guys, I feel like Sensei got the good gradient color with that. Ha 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 ha, yes, finally you're connecting the dots. You stumble into the classic RGBA rookie trap. SDL3's SDL vertices expects colors as floats from 0.0f, okay, to 1.0. 0, okay, 0 to 255, not 0 to 255. Integers like you're giving. That's why a triangle is coming out completely white. Any number greater than 1 is treated as clamped. So everything maxes out at 1, which is white. I see. Okay, so each value between 0, 0 and 1, 0 RGB intensity, A opacity. Once you do that, your triangle is going to be I think I see. So instead of going with whatchamacallit, the raw integers, I might try something like 0.5f. Let's go with something like 0.3f. Let's change that to 0.1f. Okay, and then let's go ahead and change it to something like 0.8f. So let's change that to 0.6f. Let's change this to something like 0.1f as well. Let's change this to 0.4f. Okay. Let's change this to something like 0.2f. And lastly, I'll change to something like 0.6f. Okay, and let's change the opacity to something like 1.0f. Let's copy the 1.0f. Because guys, I'm way too lazy to type it out twice. So I'll paste that here and here. Now for it, control us to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Okay, so our first window popped up here. Let's wait for the second one. Guys, the second one did not pop. What up, guys? Should I have to like unable to start program? Guys, did something go wrong here? There we go. I think something just went wrong that time. Guys, the triangle looks so good sometimes with all these gradient colors. Okay, that's it. You can actually write a function that can return the 0 and 1 value in float, but you can input 0 and 255, which is your comfort zone. Oh, that actually does make sense. Honestly, I feel like I don't like actually have a comfort zone because like I feel like I prefer like I'm used to writing whatchamacallit with integers like 0 to 255 as well, but I feel like it would be the same thing like with the floating points as well. I feel both are pretty fun to write. Okay, that said, I do want to now color them. I mean, not color them, whatchamacallit. I do want to try writing this on my own right now. So after I'm done like adding the graphics from my line, I go ahead and I define the vertices with colors. And then I use the SDL_render geometry. Okay, let's go with control and delete everything. Now, firstly, let me start off by drinking some water, guys. I feel like I'm kind of dehydrated. Okay, perfect. Now, let me actually start off by including a pair of ankle braces. There we go. Let me go ahead and include IO stream. And then let's go ahead and include something like, I don't know, maybe another pair of ankle braces. Since I am going to be using SDL3, I will be including SDL3 and all the header files for SDL as well. And then let's go all the way down and then create a main function which does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character of argv, which is a pointer towards an array. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my main function, I'm going to add a if statement to check if my SDL was not initialized properly. I could do that by typing something like SDL_init with a pair of parentheses, SDL_init_video. Okay, perfect. That checks if my SDL was not initialized properly. And now if it was not, also brother, can you use TDS for a better voice? TDS? Honestly, I haven't like heard of TDS. Is it like considered a mic? Like, isn't my voice being clearly heard? I think like my voice is being like heard clearly. That's it. It's like TDS like in my company or something. That's it. I'll go with something like a standard C error with that insertion operator. This is gonna give me an SDL_init error. So there we go. Okay, and then let's use the function that actually gets me an error. This is going to be something like C error. There we go. Okay, now the function that gets me an error is going to be called the SDL_getError function. Excuse me, guys, with a pair of parentheses. And add another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, I think the function name is correct. I just forgot to add an insertion operator here. What up, guys? There we go. Let's go ahead and add an insertion operator here. Okay, perfect. And then next up, let's go ahead and return one saying something went wrong in this code. Check it out. Okay, now after I'm done adding a if statement, after I'm done initializing my SDL, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like game variables. This is going to be where I add my game variables, and I just realized last time I did not use my offsets, guys. Okay, so I think I might not need them. Okay, the first variable is going to be a constant variable, constant integer of, let's say something like my windows is width, which is going to be initially set to 800 ending with a semicolon. Then I'll go with something like a constant integer of height, which is going to be set to 600 ending with a semicolon. Next up, since I am going to be moving my triangle around, I am going to be adding something like a float of something like x_velocity, which is going to be equal to something like, let's go with 6.0f this time. It's not going to be too fast. And then I'll go with another floating point for my y-axis _velocity, which is going to be equal to 6.0f as well. So it's going to be a floating point number. What up, guys? Let's fix my typo here real quick. Now, after I'm done adding my game variables, I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Then add a comment that, I don't know, maybe say something like create a window and render. So I'm going to be creating my window and render at the same time. To do that, firstly, let's go ahead and create two local variables. The first local variable is going to be SDL_window. So this is a structure let's say for my window variable, which is going to be equal to null PTR ending with a semicolon. Then I could go with something like SDL underscore renderer with an asterisk or a pointer to like, let's say a pointer for my renderer variable. So my renderer variable is a pointer, which is going to be set to null PTR for the time being. That is basically a placeholder. And then now that I've created both my variables, let's go ahead and use the function that actually does, whatchamacallit, create my window and renderer. So I could use the SDL underscore create a window and a renderer function. This function creates my window and renderer both at the same time, although it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be title / a caption for a window. I could keep that to something like SDL3 window created exclamation, and then I'll add a comment here. Next up, I'm going to need my width and height as my second and third parameter. My width is going to be my width variable, which is set to 800, and height is going to be my height variable, which is set to 600. The fourth parameter is going to be a flag. If I do want to add a flag, I could go with 0, but I think I do want to add a flag that makes my window resizable. To do that, I could use the SDL underscore window underscore resizable. There we go. And is this considered a flag? Okay, this is called a UN64. I don't think this is a flag. Is it like a keyword or something? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna be calling it like a keyword, I think. Okay, that's it. Now, for my fifth and sixth parameter, I am gonna be needing the memory address for my Windows' pointer and my renderer's pointer. To do that, I could use the address of operator, my window. So there we go. An ampersand window and the address of operator / ampersand for my renderer as well. And then once I'm done with that, let's go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Now that I've created my window and my renderer, let's use an if statement to check if they were actually created properly. So to do that, I could go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if not, if my window was not created properly, or my renderer was not created properly, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, and then I'm going to add a standard C error with an insertion operator. I'm going to be getting an error called something like SDL underscore create window and renderer. What up, guys? There we go. And renderer error. Okay, perfect. And then let's go in another line, add another insertion operator. I'm going to go ahead and use the SDL underscore get errors function. This function is going to be getting me an error if either my window or my renderer was not created properly. Then I'll go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if my window or my renderer was not created properly, I do want to exit my SDL. To do that, I could go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'd return 1 saying something went wrong in this block of code. Check it out. Okay, now after I'm done creating my window and renderer, since I am like working with a triangle, let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like triangle. What up, guys? There we go. Triangle properties. So I'm gonna add my triangle properties. And now for my triangle properties, my triangle does consist of like 3 lines. So I'm gonna add a vertices 1 for first line, vertices 2 for my second line, vertices 3 for my third line. So like that's like 3 dots on my screen. To do that, let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore f point. I'll use the f points as structure. What up, guys? There we go. Okay, now my SDL underscore f point is going to be having a variable. So my f point does consist all the attributes that for my f point, for my floating point, points is whatchamacallit, my regular point, which can now be accessed through my v1 local variable as well. I'm gonna set that equal to a pair of curly braces. Guys, the moment of truth, do I really remember the parameters? Let's think. So I think it was something like 200, 400. So it was something like 200.0f, 400.0f, okay, ending with a semicolon. Then I'm gonna go ahead and create a SDL underscore f point again. Okay, this is gonna be for my vertices 2, which is gonna be equal to, guys, if memory served right, I think this is something like 400.0f, and then this is going to be 400.0f again as well, ending with a semicolon. For my final vertices, I'm going to go with something like f point. Okay, this is going to be my vertices 3, which is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. I'm pretty sure this was something like 300.0f and 250.0f, ending with a semicolon. Okay, that should be SDL underscore f point. Alright, perfect. Now that I've done creating my triangle properties, let's go ahead and add another comment that, I don't know, maybe say something like main loop. From a main loop, firstly, let's go ahead and create a key buttons, like boolean variables for my key buttons. I could do that by creating something like a boolean variable for something like w down, which is initially going to be set to false. W down basically means like if my W button is being pushed downwards. And then I'll go with something like a boolean of something like S down. Let's go with S down. What up, guys? That's going to be S down. There we go. Which is going to be set to false as well initially. I'll add a comma, go in a new line. And then let's add something like A down, which is going to be equal to false as well. What up, guys? I might not need a boolean here. Okay, there we go. And then I'll add a comma here for something like D down. While my D is being pushed down, I'm going to set that equal to be false as well. Ending with a semicolon. And I won't be adding for my my escape and control, because guys, I do want to like save a lot of time here. That said, now after I'm done adding my 4 button clicks or my button checks, I'm going to add another boolean value for something like is running. I will be setting that to be true initially, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and add an event variable. I am going to be adding an event variable to like what we call that look for events. Okay, this is going to be called event, ending with a semicolon. Now for our main loop, I'll go with something like a while loop while is running. While my program is running or while my is running is set to true, I'm going to do something. What up, guys? I think I spelled it wrong. There we go. I'll go with the prof curly braces. Now, while my program is running, I am going to be adding a event loop as well. Basically, my event loop is going to be a while loop inside of a while loop. Technically, a nested while loop. So I'm going to go with another while loop. I'll go with something like while a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like while SDL underscore poll event. Okay, there we go. Okay, so SDL poll underscore poll event is basically a function that looks for all the events that I am looking for. If an event is met, it like executes that event. If that made any sense. Although it does require the memory address of my event variable that I created up there. And then I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my event loop, I'm going to look for a specific type of event. I'll go with something like if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event.type is quit, I'm going to do something. I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Now, after my if statement, I'm going to be, let's say, adding another if statement, this time for my button clicks. So, I don't know, maybe I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses here. I'm going to go with something like if my event.type animal. Honestly, guys, I feel like that does make sense. That said, okay, let's go with something like if my event.type equals to something like SDL underscore event underscore maybe something like key down if my key is being pushed down. There we go. Okay, perfect. And then I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside my SDL underscore event underscore key down, I am going to be using switches. So let's go with something like switch with a pair of parentheses. Now, my switch is going to be looking for something. I'll go with something like events.key.key. So if my event's current key is this key, okay, and then I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Now, under my switches, I am going to be looking for specific cases. I'll go with my case 1. If my SDL's key is, I don't know, maybe something like W, I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'm going to be, setting my W down variable to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and add a break here. Now, for my second case, I'm going to check if my SDL's current key is, I don't know, maybe S. If it is S, I'm going to set my S down boolean variable to be true, ending with a semicolon. For my third case, I'm going to go with something like SD. If my case is SDL's key, if my SDL's key is something like A, then I'm going to go with something like A down boolean variable, which is set to true. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and add a break. I think I forgot to add a break here. What up, guys? Let's add a break here as well. And now, lastly, for my fourth check, maybe I do want to save lines. Okay, I think it would look much cleaner if I like added stuff like this. There we go. Guys, does this look much cleaner? I feel like this looks much cleaner and also saves like a lot of space. What up, guys? Let me do it for everything. There we go. Let's lastly do it for this, because I don't think I have to like go to a new line every single time. There we go. Okay, I feel like this looks much cleaner now. Okay, let's say for my case 4, if my SDL's current key is, let's say, something like D, then I'm gonna do something. So I'm gonna go with my D down boolean variable. I'm gonna set that equal to true, and then let's go ahead and break, ending with a semicolon. Guys, this feels much more cleaner. I wish I did this like before. It would save so many lines of code. That said, this is the if statements for if my key is being pushed down. I gotta add if statements for if it is being pushed up as well, or like if they leave the key. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy my if statement, sure, just to save time, and paste it all the way here. Now let me change my key down to be key up this time. There we go. Okay, now after I add my switches, I'm going to be changing the trues to false. That's honestly pretty much it. That's the only difference that these have. Okay, besides changing the event type, let's go ahead and change that to be false as well. Okay, perfect. So that's pretty much it for my events. Now let's go ahead and exit outside of my event loop. So it starts there, so it should end all the way here. Okay, now after I'm done adding my event loop, I'm going to add a comment that says something like key controls. This is where I'm going to be, automating slash, not automating, moving my my triangle depending on my keys, if that made any sense, guys. To do that, first I could add like a if statement. Let's go with a pair of parentheses. Maybe I go with something like switches. I think if statements would make sense here. Yeah, I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my D or if my W down is set to true, I'm going to do something. Let's go ahead and increase my vertices 1 dot y-axis. I'm going to decrease it by, let's say, something like my y-axis underscore velocity. I'll end that with a semicolon, and then let's go with something like vertices 2 dot y-axis is going to decrease by my y-axis underscore velocity as well, ending with a semicolon, and then vertices 3 dot y-axis is going to decrease by my y-axis underscore velocity as well, ending with a semicolon. Guys, does this make it much more readable? Because like I feel this makes it look much better right now. Okay, that said, let's go ahead and add another if statement. So I'll go with if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my S down is set to true, I'm going to do something. Let's say my vertices 1 dot y-axis is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. And then my vertices 2 dot y-axis is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. And then my vertices 3 dot y-axis is going to be, what up guys, vertices 3 dot y-axis is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity as well, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now I add another if statement for if my D down is set to true. If it is set to true, I'm going to do something. Vertices 1 dot x-axis is going to increase by, let's say, something like my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Vertices 1 dot x-axis is going to increase by my, this is going to be vertices 2, guys. There we go. Vertices 2 dot x-axis is going to increase by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, vertices 3 dot x-axis is going to increase by my x-axis underscore velocity as well, ending with a semicolon. Now lastly, for my fourth if statement, I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my D down is being pushed, if my D is being pushed down, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Let's go with vertices 1 dot x-axis is going to decrease by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Vertices 2 dot x-axis is going to decrease by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with lastly, vertices 3 dot x-axis is going to decrease by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Guys, that felt like it was a lot to say. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and exit outside of my key controls. Add another comment now that says something like fill screen. So I'm going to be filling my screen with like a specific color. Let's say I want my screen to be cyan, so I could go ahead and firstly set a color to my renderer by using the SDL underscore set render. Excuse me guys, draw color function with a pair of parentheses. Now, the first parameter that this function does require is my renderer local variable. The second is going to be an RGB, so I'll go with 0248, 255, which is like a RGB to a cyan color. And then lastly, I'll go with like alpha slash opacity, which is going to be set to 255, ending with a semicolon. I think Anurag, I appreciate you joining the stream. And now once I did set a color for my renderer, let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore render clear function. This function basically clears my screen slash fills my screen with a color. I'm gonna fill it with my render variables' color. Okay, next up, after I'm done with that, let's add a comment again that says something like graphics. So now I'm gonna be adding a few graphics. Basically, I'm gonna be drawing my rectangle on my screen. That's it. To add a graphic, let's see what I gotta do first. Firstly, I would need like a different color for my rectangle. Although guys, here comes the harder part. I do gotta draw my rectangle first. To do that, let's go ahead and use the SDL_set render to draw color function. I want to change my renders' color. Let's go with something like render to, there we go. Okay, I want my renders' outline to be something like black and the opacity to be 255, which means it's not transparent at all, ending with a semicolon. Now, after I'm done with that, let's go ahead and add 3 render line functions. So I'll go with something like SDL_render line. So I'm saying my render to render a line with a pair of parentheses. Now my render line function does require 5 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render variable. The second and third parameter is going to be x1 and y1. x1 is my x-axis starting point, y1 is my y-axis starting point. The fourth and fifth parameter is going to be my x2 and y2. x2 is my x-axis ending point, y2 is my y-axis ending point. So you guys see like those lines connecting. And I'm going to be adding 3 SDL_render lines because like a triangle does have 3 lines. Okay, here my x1 is going to be my vertices 1.x-axis. Okay, x2 is going to be something like vertices, actually y1 is going to be my vertices 1.y-axis. Now for x2, I'm going to go with vertices 2.x-axis. For y2, I'll go with vertices 2.y-axis. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And let's now go ahead and create my second line. So I'll go with SDL_render line. Let's go with something like render line. Head up, guys. There we go, with a pair of parentheses. Now okay, with a pair of parentheses, let's add render line, a pair of parentheses. Now let's go ahead and first add my renderer variable. Okay, and then I'm going to be needing a x1. This time my x1, my starting point is going to be from where my previous line ended, which is like vertices 2. So my x1 is going to be vertices 2.x-axis. My y1 is going to be my vertices 2.y-axis. Now my x2 is going to be where my vertices 2's line ends. So I'll go with something like x3.x-axis. Actually, vertices 3.x-axis. There we go. And then let's go with something like vertices 3.y-axis for my y2. And then let's end my second line with a semicolon as well. Now for my third and final line, let's go ahead and use the SDL_render line function again to render line. And then I'll add a pair of parentheses. Now, firstly, I'll use the renderer parameter. And then now my x1 is going to be from where my previous line ended. Since my previous line did end with the vertices 3's, I'm going to go with something like vertices 3.x-axis. Okay, and then I'll add a comma. For my y1, I'll go with something like vertices 3.y-axis. And then now for my x2, I'll go with something like vertices 1.x-axis. Add something like vertices 1.y-axis. Okay, perfect. Ending with a semicolon. So this basically made a triangle right now. Okay, that's pretty much it. Once I'm done adding my graphics, let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like present. I'm going to present it on my screen. To present it, I could like go ahead and use the SDL_present render or something like render present function. Render present function with a pair of parentheses. I want to present my render variable, ending with a semicolon. And then let's add another comment that says something like FPS. Okay, well done. I appreciate you, kid. Okay, is that a name though? Okay, that's it. For my FPS, I'll go with something like SDL_the delay function. Now, my SDL_delay function does require a parameter in milliseconds. I'll go with something like 16 milliseconds, which is basically 60 frames per second. That said, after I'm done adding my FPS, before I go ahead and do my cleanup, I do want to add a color to my renderer as well. So after I'm done drawing my renderer, before I present it, I'm going to add another comment that says something like color my triangle. Okay, so I'll go with something like color triangle. Okay, now for coloring it, okay, this was the new part. So I gotta use something like the SDL_, I think it was something like vertices. Okay, I'll go with okay, SDL underscore vertex is a structure which is gonna be having is it gonna have like a local variable to it? Guys, I forgot this part. Let me actually think a bit hard. It's gonna be having a array of vertices. There we go. My array is going to be consisting of 3 elements because my triangle does have 3 lines ending with a semicolon. Actually, I won't end it with a semicolon. I'm going to add a few values. So I'll go with my array is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. Then I'm going to add another pair of curly braces here. And now inside this pair of curly braces, I'm going to be adding another pair of another pair of curly braces. My inner curly braces does require my vertices 1.x-axis parameter and vertices 2.x-axis parameter. And I'll go ahead and exit outside of that curly braces, add another pair of curly braces. This is going to require an RGB color. For my RGB color, I could go with something like 0.1f, okay? And then I'll add a comma, I'll go with something like 0.0f. Okay, for my G, and then my B is going to be something like 0. Should I go with something like, I might go with something like, do I want blue in my color? Maybe no blue, guys. It's just, actually, let's add some blue. I want to see a new variation of the color. Okay, and then I'll need an opacity, so 0.1f, which is basically 255 opacity. My my color is not going to be transparent at all, so it's RGBA value. And then I'll add a comma here outside my pair of curly braces, add my second pair of curly braces. Inside of my outer curly braces, I'm going to add an inner curly braces. That does require my vertices 2.x-axis and vertices 2.y-axis. And then let's go ahead and exit outside of that pair of curly braces, add a comma here, add another curly braces, there we go. And I'm adding in a new line so you guys can actually see what it does. That said, now my inner curly braces does require an RGBA value as well. Let's go with something like 0.0f, 0.1f, and let's go with something like 0.0f. And lastly, from my opacity, I'll go with 0.1f, which is basically not transparent at all. And now finally, for my third line, or like my third element inside of my array, I'm going to go with an outer pair of curly braces and inner pair of curly braces. The inner pair does require my vertices 3.x-axis and vertices 3.y-axis. And then I'm going to go outside of my inner pair of curly braces, add a comma here, go in a new line. New line honestly isn't important. I'm just adding it so you guys could actually see that. That's I'll go with the pair of curly braces as well. This is going to be an RGBA value. Let's go with something like 0.0f, 0.0f, and 0.1f for my B. And lastly, let's go with like something like 0.1f as well for my alpha. And then let's go ahead and end my entire vertices with a semicolon. Guys, that was so much. Now, the next function is going to be something like SDL underscore render geometry. Okay, so the render geometry function. There we go. Okay, perfect. With a pair of parentheses, now let's see all the parameters that it requires. The first parameter is going to be my renderer variable, so let's go ahead and add that. There we go. And then I'll add a comma. The second parameter is going to be a texture. I'm honestly not going to add a texture, so I'll go with something like null. And then constant vertices. Okay, so let's add a null here. Something like null. Okay, I might go with an uppercase null. There we go. And then add a comma here. Okay, wait. I think it should be a null pointer because it says that it's a pointer to my texture. So I'll go with something like null PDR. I'll go with something like null PDR. And then now in my new line, I'm going to be needing to add my array of vertices. There we go. Did I spell it correct? There we go. Okay, then let's add a comma. What's the next parameter that I need? It says a memory address though. An integer of num vertices, that is going to be an integer. So I'll go ahead and add something like an uppercase null because it's not a pointer. Add a comma. And then what was the next parameter? I needed my indices. Okay, so I added my number of vertices. Hold up guys, my number of vertices is set to 3 because like there are 3 elements inside of my vertex. Okay, and then I need something like a constant integer of indices and a number of indices. This is a pointer, so I'm gonna go here and add something like null PDR, add a comma here, let's add something like 0. And then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Guys, that was a lot. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. There was a build error. What up guys, where did I mess up? Okay, let's go with something like no, cannot open to the debug exe file. Guys, did I like mess something up here? I feel like I used like 99% of my brain thinking this through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parameters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did have 6 parameters. Where did I mess up, guys? Okay, instead of null PDR, what happens if I go with null? Would this fix it, guys? Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, I still get a build error. Okay, let's go with Control Z's. Okay, Control Shift Z. Now, let's go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let me get sensei/ChatGPT here. Let's go ahead and paste this, Shift Enter and say something like Sensei, I got a build. Hold up, guys. I might be stupid. There we go. I think I forgot to add my cleanup. Let's add a comment that says something like cleanup. There's no way I actually forgot this part though. That's it for my cleanup. Firstly, once my window does exit, I'm going to be destroying my SDL. So my SDL is window. So I'll go ahead and use the SDL_destroy window with a pair of parentheses. This does require my window parameter ending with a semicolon. What up guys, let me fix my typo. SDL_destroy window. Okay, and then let's go ahead and use the SDL_quit ending with a semicolon. And the reason I did get a build error is because my main function is an integer, so I do have to return something. Let's go ahead and return 0 saying everything went good. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, I still get a build error, guys. Okay guys, I thought I was up to something when I tried fixing this up. That's it, maybe I was just imagining stuff. Let's go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get some sensei/ChatGPT here. Go with Control A, Control V, Shift Enter and say something like, Sensei, I feel like I messed up with the rectangle colors question mark. Actually the triangle colors. What up guys, with the triangle colors question mark, I get a build error question mark. Okay, let's see. Okay, ha 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 ha. Oh people, I can feel the pain from here. Look carefully at what you did. Okay, at what you wrote for the triangles. Everything looks correct, right? Okay, here's where you messed up. Vertex position, first line, vertices. It should have been vertex 1, guys. That's what I keep saying. I keep making so many silly mistakes. It's vertices 1 dot y-axis. There we go. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, I still get a build error. Hold up guys. X-axis, y-axis, x-axis, y-axis. Apparently I think there's like some other error as well. How many, like, I feel I make so many silly mistakes. Okay, spelling vertices, it's vertices, tiny detail but annoying for compilers. Okay, fixed version, SDL_vertex. Okay, let's go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get sensei/ChatGPT back here. Let's paste it, go with Shift Enter and see something like Sensei. I still get a build error exclamation. Okay, let's see. Okay, a bunch of ha-has. People, I told you, I can already see the smoke coming off your keyboard. Look at this line. Okay, here are the disasters. Colors are too low. SDL3 expects RGBA float between 0 and 0.1. Okay, you did that, but your alpha is 0.1, practically invisible. Use 1.0F. There we go, guys. The second silly mistake. I make so many of these mistakes per code. I should like actually work on those. 1.0F instead of 0.1. I mean, 0.1 would work, but for my opacity, I will go with 1.0. Hold up, guys. Let's go with something like 1.0. Change that to something like 1.0 and change that to 1.0 as well. Okay, I will be changing this to 0.1 because I want to see the color. If I hit Control S to save the code and run the command this time, I get a build error again. Hold up, guys. Let's read everything since it has to write. Look at the goddamn build error. honestly, hold up, guys. Okay, look at the goddamn build error. Holy shit, it logs somewhere, does it? Okay, we're looking at the error with this one. Wait, do I even have like, it shows something like a LNK 1168. If I were to hit open, it does open my whole toolbox here, guys. Okay, that said, let me actually read the whole code real quick. So, actually not the whole code, the whole thing. Okay, so I changed that to 1, 1, and 1. Okay, also you're moving left, right, backwards. Okay, that's not that big of an issue. That said, could it be really because like the whatchamacallit, the colors are too low? Because like that wouldn't make sense. What if I did want to go with like a 1.0 color? 1.0. Okay, now if I did Control S to save the code. Okay, 1.0F. If I were to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. I still get a build error. Okay, let's see the error this time. It says 0 succeeded, 1 failed, up to date. How do you even check errors like in whatchamacallit, in SDL? SDL project. Okay, and before that, let me just fix something real quick up here. If these are like upside down for my AND, I'll change this to minus and change that to plus. Okay, that's it. I'll go with Control A, Control C again. Let's copy that. Buddy, you just spelled vertices wrong. There's no I. Is that my typo, guys? V-E-R-T... Okay, wait. I don't think it is because of like word. I don't think it is like the spelling here because whatchamacallit, it could my spellings could like practically be anything. For example, okay, hold up, guys. Okay, let's go with Control A, Control C because these are not like function names. These are like variable names. They could like be anything, honestly. Okay, that's it. Let me try pasting it or going with Shift Enter and say something like say, I still get a build error! Exclamation. Okay, Google. Honestly, how do you like check a code in Google? That's I can already see the chaos. Okay, look at this. The biggest offender SDL underscore vertex. Constructor in SDL3 does not take 2 set of braces like this. Should it be 1 braces? Could it be that I forgot that part? Okay, you need 1 for position or 1 for color, exactly like this. I have a complete pair of curly braces and then I have 1 inside that I added to. Did I do this exact same thing? Okay, look at this closely. Okay. Wait, hold up. All I see is just an extra space here. So I added a pair of curly braces. Then I added my vertices 1. Hold up, guys, let's go ahead and copy that. Okay, I just want to see if this part actually does work. Okay, movement logic. You're moving your triangle in complete crazy way. I see all 3 vertices should move together, otherwise your triangle will twist and turn. Okay, hold up, guys, I think I see. I wanna fix something else real quick. Okay, so this should be minus minus. That's gonna be something like plus. Okay, and then when I do color my triangle, let's paste /GPT's way and see if it actually works. Okay, this way doesn't give me an error. Wait, hold up. Let's go ahead and paste it all the way here. Okay, that's my SDL underscore vertex. Okay, so let's copy that. So paste it here. Okay, and then add a comment here that says something like color triangle. Let's go with something like triangle. There we go. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, I still do get a build error. I don't see the problem here because I feel like my code is kind of correct. Okay, so it's vertices 1, Could it be something from my render? Let's go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's go say /ChatGPT back here. Guys, I feel like I've been getting it so much. Wait, did I like cancel? Did I like close ChatGPT's chat? What up, guys? There we go. Okay. Howdy, Goku. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that said, let's get some say/ChatGPT here. Let's go all the way up there and extend it a bit here. Guys, no, I actually closed the previous chat. There we go. Okay, now let's paste this. Go with Shift Enter and say something like, say, something is still wrong. Is it my SDL underscore render geometry question mark? Is it my render geometry? Guys, why does Sensei laugh so much? Okay, yes, the problem is not your color, it's your triangle movement. Look at this. If A is down, did I really do that? You're twisting the triangle in a horrible way. Okay, wait, let's just try Sensei's part, because I feel like I fixed that, didn't I? Okay, I did not fix it completely. Hold up, guys, that's going to be minus, that's going to be plus, but how would I fix my build error in like any way? Let's save the code, it still has a build error. Okay, guys, I'm pretty sure I did not mess up anywhere this time. Okay, so first I initialize my SDL, I add my game variables, I create my window, add my renderer, I check if they were not created properly, I add my triangle properties, okay, it means they're vertices, my main loop, a few variables for my main loop, a boolean variable. Okay, what are you working on? Honestly, I am like actually working on trying to I'm trying to master key controls in SDL3 using C++. That said, while it's running, I added my event loop. Okay, that is a correct event loop. I added another if statement and switches inside of my if statement. This part is correct. Key controls, if W down is set to true, okay, vertices 1, vertices 2, vertices 3, vertices 1, vertices 2, vertices 3 increases, vertices 1, vertices 2, and vertices 3 decreases by my x-axis velocity. Vertices 1, vertices 2, vertices 3 increases by my x-axis underscore velocity. I fill my screen, I add my graphics here, I draw my triangle. Okay, vertices 1, vertices 2 dot x-axis, y-axis, x-axis, y-axis, x-axis, y-axis. Okay, that's x-axis, y-axis as well. Okay, that part is correct. Okay, what does project you do? Honestly, basically, I'm just learning on how to master key controls in SDL3 using C++. That said, my color triangle, SDL underscore vertex. What up, guys? I do already let me actually scroll all the way up until my previous code because I do feel like I did add a pretty good code up here. Hold up, guys. Okay, so back when I did write a code, okay, I think it's gonna be somewhere here. Okay, I get it build error. I think I gotta go a bit more up. Okay, triangle is white. Okay, there we go. So I added a cleanup and destroy. I added FPS. I presented my renderer. I did this as well. I went with render geometry, render null PDR vertices 3, null PDR 0. I went with null PDR vertices 3, null PDR 0. Okay, I'm pretty sure I did that part correct. And then define vertices with colors. So I went with vertices 1.x-axis. I just had to change the RGBs. Okay, so this part does look correct that I did here. Vertices 3.x-axis, vertices 3.y-axis, and then I go up there. I rendered my line as well. Okay, and then I added my graphics as well. Okay, so my triangle is like a black color triangle. I colored my entire screen. Okay, what does the build error say? Honestly, I did check that. How do we read what the build error says? It says fatal error. Link 1 cannot open for writing. Okay, done building project, SDL3 project, failed. Okay, build 0 succeeded, 1 failed. I see build completed for 4:47 p.m. and took 0.00611 seconds. Okay, does the code editor not highlight anything related to errors? Honestly, it doesn't highlight any errors because I feel like my syntax are correct everywhere. I don't see any red underlines. You connect with project and learn with your code. You're very good, and I do like you. Honestly, I appreciate that, Lolo. That actually means a word to me, guys. Are you already running the program? Honestly, I don't think I'm running the program because everything does feel correct. That said, if I were to go to projects, I'm pretty sure there was a build. Do I go to build? It says build and run solution, rebuild solution. Okay, it doesn't rebuild solution. Hold up, guys. Let me actually send the output to sensei/.gpd and see I get this error. Let's go ahead and copy that. Get sensei/.gpd here real quick. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this. Go with shift enter and say something like sensei. I get this output. I get this output exclamation. Or I'll just go with something like dot dot dots. Okay, let's see. Ha ha ha, people. This is a different kind of mess. Look at the error. Access to the path. Is something wrong with my path? Excuse me, guys. You'd be surprised. Check task manager window cannot override a file if it's in u/1. Let me actually check my task manager in that case. Okay, so I'll open task manager. Okay, how do we check that? Like, here's my task manager. Hold up, guys. Okay, if I go to Microsoft Visual, okay, what happens if I exit my entire Visual Studio Code and open it again? Go to SDL3. Okay, now if I run the code, do I still get a build error? See, ChatGPT agrees with me. Does it? What up, guys? Let me actually check that real quick. Okay, I like the sensei people relationship you have with ChatGPT. Honestly, it does sound pretty cool. Okay, that's it. Look at the error. This is not SDL or code. This is Windows holding your file hostage. Most commands reason the exe is still running. You've got to close it. Check Task Manager and any SDL3 projects. Okay, your antivirus or Windows Defender is blocking it. You don't have permission in the folder. Guys, I did run it. Look for the file name. Alright, guys, let me actually check that real quick. Okay, so I do have my C++ directory. Oh wait, hold up, guys. Let me actually open that up. There we go. Okay, now firstly, I gotta look for the file name. Immediate fix, make sure the old exe is not running. I don't see it running though. Clean the solution, build, clean solution, rebuild, rebuild solution. Okay, let's try that. So I go to build, I clean my solution, and then I go to build, let's rebuild my solution. I get this when I try rebuilding my solution. Access to file source project.exe denied. Cannot open file. Project64 debug.exe. I did do that. Why can't I like whatchamacallit? Actually run my code though, because I did go to like debug. Actually, I did go to like build and clean my solution. Solution is clean, but it still does not work. If I run the command, why do I get a build error? Everything is correct. Okay, main.cpp. Okay, so it's main.c++. What up, guys? Let's check if I do have like main.c++. I did like create that for like my SDL. Okay, I actually don't see it. What up, guys? Why did like all of a sudden started to act cranky? Because like I feel like it's been working. Okay, let's say something like, let's say, okay, if it still fails, move your project to another path without spaces like SDL/project, SDL3 project. Let me see something next and say, I cleared my build and rebuilt it as well. So in Task Manager, look for any process that matches the name of the file. I mean, I did check my Task Manager, like, I don't think it is, because like, if I get my Task Manager here, what up, guys, let me just go ahead and extend that from here real quick. So let's close ChatGPT. What up, guys, there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and increase the size from there. Alright, guys, so I honestly don't see for anything. So that is my Microsoft Visual Studio Code. I'll go ahead and end task. Now, if I were to open it again, run as administrator. Honestly, it does make sense. Hold up, guys. Okay, now, if I were to run the code, let's see what happens. Does it run? It still gets under background processes. Background processes. Alright, guys, let me check that up real quick. Oh wait, guys, I think I got a pretty good idea. Let's hit yes. This is my previous successful build. Okay, so that is my previous successful build. Let's cancel that. Okay, now that I have my previous successful build here, I'm going to cancel both my builds. And now if I run the code again, why do I still get an error, guys? Stop showing your task manager online unless you want your PC to get hacked. Guys, is it honestly, whatchamacallit, is it like bad to show task managers online? I honestly didn't know that. Okay, that said, next up, let's see. That is a dope crash processor. Okay, I don't think it's something like related to my task manager. Okay, could I go with expand or open file locations, resource, memory, new disk? Alright, guys, I honestly don't think like something is wrong like with my task manager. Stop believing your comments. You're so dumb sometimes. Try deleting the file manually. Guys, I might actually look into this like off stream because like I feel my code is correct. Yeah, under the processes, run as admin. Okay, so it's effective mode. Try Control plus B. Okay, move your file to another folder without any spaces. How do I actually do that? What up, guys? Let me actually check it up real quick. Give me a check, guys. So, okay, let's see. Guys, how do I actually do that? Okay, let's just go ahead and cancel this. Okay, maybe I might look into this off stream. Can you try? Can you delete the actual exe? Could be locked or corrupt. Okay, your stream is going fine. Why are you checking your task manager? That actually does make sense. Okay, that said, what's the point of learning C++ anymore? Actually, I feel like it is like a pretty good skill to have. Okay, that said, I might actually end my stream right now in that case. Because I feel like I did do everything correct, but apparently it doesn't work. Okay, that said, actually, let me actually get Sensei slash ChatGPT back here. Okay, let's say something like, let's say, the error he's getting is an access denied error, which on Windows usually means the file isn't used. Rebuild the solution. I did try rebuilding the solution. Let me see something like, let's say I did try everything. That said, it didn't work. I might actually try it off stream. That said, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers before I end the stream? Question mark. Because guys, honestly, I might actually end the stream right now. Okay, listen up everyone. People had a crazy day trying to make a triangle move and color in SDL3, and Windows decided to be a pain. Sometimes even the best coders face errors that have nothing to do with the code. That's life, but our people isn't quitting. Remember, struggle today, master tomorrow. Steel is forged in fire, and sometimes the fire is Windows itself. So cheer for them, send energy, and watch as they come back stronger next time. Hugs and a headbutt for all the viewers for sticking around, guys. It is not making blush. That said, please go and look it up online if your task manager can be hacked. Honestly, I don't think it can be hacked because like whatchamacallit, I did actually show you guys that multiple times. That said, it's insane that ChatGPT can understand that. Guys, it does make sense. Stop bullying people online and showing your personal stuff. That does make sense, guys. I should actually stop showing that. Okay, you need to learn to be cautious. Okay, that said, let me go to my main camera. Okay, let's go to my main camera. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. That said, I did want to stream longer, but I feel something went really wrong here for my, my running the code. I might look into that like off stream. That's it, I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and even like Showa now. That's it, I will start multi-streaming on TikTok and Instagram as well if I did meet the followers requirements. If you guys do enjoy my content now and follow me there, make sure to follow me there and subscribe to me on YouTube and also join the Discord server. The link of everything will be in the description. That's it, I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace!